Elias Crane was the kind of man people whispered about in corporate hallways, a billionaire tech genius, founder of Crane Dynamics. A man whose face appeared on magazine covers and financial shows almost monthly. He ran companies, negotiated billion-dollar deals, and made decisions that shaped entire industries. But there were two little people in his mansion who terrified him more than any competitor ever could: his 5-year-old twins. Leo and Liana, since his wife Alina passed away 2 years earlier. The twins had become a storm with no center brilliant. Sensitive, unpredictable, and emotionally wild. Grief had made them restless. Loneliness had made them impossible. And every babysitter who entered their world left with trembling hands and wild eyes. Elias still remembered the last nanny's words as she ran out of the house: "I'm sorry, Mr. Crane, but those children need a SWAT team, not a nanny." Another had lasted 40 minutes before bursting into tears. One escaped through the garden gate without even collecting her pay. Another climbed out a window just to avoid facing the twins. Screaming match after nearly 20 resignations in 18 months. The agency finally gave up. "Mr. Crane," the manager had said with a defeated sigh, "there's simply no one left willing to take the job." Elias had only nodded. He was exhausted. He knew the truth. The twins weren't misbehaving out of malice. They were missing their mother and living with a father who buried his grief under meetings and deadlines. One cold Monday morning, as Eli was drowning in work inside his home office, his head housekeeper, Mrs. Lennox, knocked on the door. "Sir, there's one more applicant." He frowned. "Another nanny?" "No, sir." She hesitated. "A housemaid." He blinked. "A maid?" "Yes, but she has experience with children. And she's different," Elias sighed, rubbing his temples. "At this point, as long as she survives 10 minutes, hire her." He didn't expect anything. He didn't hope for anything. He had no energy left to believe in miracles. But the moment Amara Brooks walked into the massive marble foyer, something shifted. She stood tall, with warm brown eyes, deep mahogany skin, and an expression that held both strength and softness. Her uniform was simple, clean, ironed perfection. She carried herself with quiet confidence, steady, grounded. Unshaken by the mansion's grand size or by the crying echoing from upstairs, her presence felt like a warm breeze in a cold room. "Good morning, Mr. Crane," she said in a calm, steady voice. "I understand you've had some challenges with childcare." Elias almost laughed at the understatement. That's one word for it. "May I meet the children?" she asked politely. "Are you sure?" Mrs. Lennox whispered behind Elias, her eyes wide with warning. Amara nodded. "I'm not afraid of storms." Something about that line made Elias pause. He led her down the hallway toward the playroom, the battlefield. Even from outside the door, the chaos was loud inside. Leo was swinging a pillow like a weapon, feathers bursting into the air like snow. Liana was screaming because her crayon broke, kicking a toy box hard enough to send toys flying. This was the moment all the others panicked. This was where every professional lost control. But Amara? She simply stepped forward, walked past the chaos, and sank gently to the floor, legs crossed, palms open. Then she said, quietly but confidently, "Come here, my little stars." Everything stopped. Elias froze. Mrs. Lennox gasped. The twins looked up confused, curious, almost, drawn to her, and for the first time in 2 years. Something impossible happened. Leo and Liana walked toward someone without screaming. Elias felt the ground shift beneath him. Though he didn't yet know, the real miracle had just begun. The playroom had always been the most dreaded room in the Crane mansion. It was large, nearly the size of a small apartment, with bright murals, painted on the walls, shelves full of toys, and enough space for any child to feel like royalty. But instead of joy, the room held chaos, echoes of tantrums, and the ghosts of nannies who couldn't last even a day. Elias stood beside the doorway, bracing himself for the usual explosion. But Amara Brooks didn't enter the room like the nannies before her, hesitant, nervous, or already defeated. She walked in with soft, confident steps, as if she were approaching to children she already cared for. Leo stopped mid-pillow swing. Liana paused mid-crayon tantrum. It was as if the air shifted the moment Amara crossed the threshold. She looked at them, not with fear or frustration, but with warmth, genuine warmth, as if their chaos was nothing more than a language she already understood. Then, she did something no one had ever done. She lowered herself gently onto the carpet and sat cross-legged on the floor. No commands. No raised voice. No attempt to take control, just presence. "Come here, my little stars," she said again, the words floating like a soft melody in the noisy room. Leo blinked. Liana sniffled. Elias watched in disbelief as the twins' faces softened with curiosity and emotion he hadn't seen in them in years. Leo the wilder one took a tentative step toward her. "Why stars?" he asked, clutching the pillow like a shield. "Because stars are bright," Amara smiled. "And sometimes they burn too strong because they have too much energy inside them." Liana's eyes widened, her tears forgotten. "Are we too bright?" "Never too bright," Amara said. "Just misunderstood." Those words melted something inside the little girl. She crawled closer and settled herself in Amara's lap, as if she had known her for years. Leo followed, dropping his pillow and sitting beside her. Leaning his head against her arm, Elias felt his heart slam into his ribs. No one had ever gotten both twins calm at the same time. Not his relatives, not the teachers, not the nannies with glossy degrees, not even him. Amara gently smoothed Liana's hair. "Why were you upset, sweetheart? My crayon broke," Liana whispered, embarrassed. Amara nodded, as if this were the most important problem in the world. "Well, lucky for us, broken crayons still colored beautifully. Sometimes even better than new ones." Liana smiled, shy and small, but real. "And you, Leo?" Amara asked softly. "What made you a storm today?" Leo shrugged. "Daddy works too much." The words stabbed Elias in the chest. Amara didn't look at him, but he felt her awareness shift toward his presence. She held the boy closer. "That sounds very hard," she whispered. "Sometimes storms happen when our hearts feel too full." Leo's breath hitched, like he was fighting tears. Amara didn't push him. She simply held his little hand, steady and warm. For several minutes, the room was quiet, peaceful in a way Elias couldn't remember. Then Amara gently encouraged them. "Should we clean up together? I'll help." Leo nodded. Liana hopped up eagerly, and just like that, the twins began picking up toys, laughing every few seconds as Amara made silly faces or told them tiny stories about brave stars who saved galaxies by cleaning their planets. Elias leaned against the doorway. His throat tight, Mrs. Lennox whispered behind him, voice trembling. "Sir, I think we just witnessed a miracle." Elias didn't respond. He couldn't. He was too busy watching a stranger do the impossible, calm his children, understand them, connect with them, and heal what he hadn't even known was broken. For the first time in 2 years, the Crane mansion felt soft, not silent. Leo and Liana still had energy like bottled fireworks, but calmer, lighter, as if Amara's presence had wrapped the house in a warm blanket. Elias noticed it immediately. The twins woke up earlier, excited instead of grumpy. They actually ate breakfast. They didn't scream at the maids. They didn't hide under tables or throw toys across the hallway. Instead, he heard giggles, little footsteps running instead of stomping, questions instead of tantrums. He should have felt relief. But what he felt instead was guilt, because the twins' sudden peace didn't come from him. It came entirely from Amara. She moved through the mansion with quiet purpose, always one step ahead of the twins' moods. She sang soft little tunes while wiping counters. She diffused arguments before they could explode. She sat with Leo when he grew restless and let Liana braid her hair. Even when her fingers tangled painfully, she made motherless. Children feel mothered again, and Elias, standing at a distance, felt painfully aware of his own absence in their world. One afternoon, While preparing a snack platter, Amara noticed something. Leo wasn't in his usual spot building with blocks. Liana wasn't drawing at the little table. The playroom was silent. Amara's heart tightened. She checked the hallway. Empty. The living room. Empty. The garden. Empty. Then something small and muffled caught her ear, a soft, trembling sniffle coming from behind the large bookshelf in the upstairs lounge. She approached quietly. Behind the shelf, tucked into a dark corner, like two frightened kittens, were the twins. Liana was curled up, knees tucked to her chest, face wet with tears. Leo's little arm was wrapped protectively around her, though his own eyes were glassy. Amara knelt, keeping her voice steady. "What's wrong, my stars?" Liana looked up, tears dripping off her chin. "Don't tell Daddy," she whispered. Amara's chest squeezed painfully. "Tell Daddy what?" Leo swallowed hard, his voice cracking. "That we're bad?" The words hit Amara like a slap. She gently reached out, giving them space to come closer on their own. Liana crawled into her arms, burying her face in Amara's chest. Leo leaned against her side, clutching her uniform as if afraid she'd disappear. "Why would you think that?" Amara asked softly. "Because—" Leo took a shaky breath. "Daddy always looks sad when he sees us. He's always working," Liana added. "Mommy used to play with us. Daddy never does." There it was. The wound beneath every tantrum, every meltdown, every wild burst of energy. It wasn't misbehavior. It was grief and loneliness and fear. Amara held them close, rocking gently, letting them cry without rushing them. "Listen to me," she whispered, wiping their tears with her thumbs. "You are not bad. Not even a little. You are hurting. And sometimes hurting hearts act louder. But Daddy doesn't want us around." Mara shook her head firmly. "Your daddy is hurting too. He misses your mommy very much. And when he looks sad, it's not because of you. It's because he loves you so much that it scares him." Leo's lips trembled. "Then why doesn't he stay with us?" Amara exhaled slowly. "Because he doesn't know how. Because he's afraid of failing you. Because he's drowning and pretending to float." But she didn't say that. Instead, she said gently, "Sometimes adults forget that children need them more than their work does. Maybe I can remind him." Two little heads lifted. "Really?" Liana whispered. "Really?" Mara stayed with them until their eyes dried and their breathing steadied. She held them until their bodies relaxed against hurt rusting her. Needing her that night, after the twins were asleep, Amara found Elias in his study. Surrounded by open files and glowing screens, he looked up, surprised. "Amara? Something wrong?" She took a breath. "Sir," she said softly but firmly, "your children are not wild. They're grieving you. As much as they grieve their mother." Elias froze. Amara continued, her voice breaking with empathy. "Leo and Liana don't need another nanny. They need their father." And for the first time in a long time, Elias Crane's heart cracked open. Elias. Crane did not sleep that night. Amara's words echoed through him like thunder. "Your children aren't wild. They're grieving you." He had always thought he was doing the right thing by working more, earning more, building a future for them. But he never stopped to ask what they needed now and now. He couldn't unhear what she said. They were grieving him by morning. Elias had made a decision that stunned his entire staff. He walked into the kitchen, loosened his tie, and told the head butler, "Clear my schedule." "All of it." The butler blinked. "Sir, you have a board meeting? Cancel it. Your call with the investors. Cancel that too." The staff exchanged shocked looks. Elias Crane never canceled anything. But today he wasn't a CEO. He was a father who had just realized how much time he had lost. He found the twins in the playroom with Amara. They were coloring, happy and peaceful, so unlike the storm he'd grown used to. When they saw him standing by the door, they stiffened immediately. Liana lowered her crayon. Leo's shoulders tensed. That hurt Elias more than any business failure ever had. He knelt down slowly, trying not to look intimidating. "Good morning, my stars," he said softly, borrowing Amara's phrase without even realizing. Both twins blinked in surprise. Amara lifted her gaze and gave him a quiet, encouraging nod. "Go to them." For the first time in years, Elias did. "What are you drawing?" he asked gently. Liana hesitated, then held up her paper. "A family portrait," she whispered. Elias studied it. There were 3 figures holding hands. The 2 small ones smiled brightly. The taller one, the father, had no mouth. Just a line, expressionless, silent. "Why no mouth?" Elias asked quietly. "Because—" Leo looked away. "You never laugh." The words hit him like a punch. He swallowed hard and forced a small smile. "Maybe I can try today." Both children stared at him as if he'd just said something impossible. Then, slowly, Liana slipped her tiny hand into his. "Do you want to color with us?" she asked softly. Elias nodded, his voice barely holding steady. "I'd love to." He sat between them, awkward and unsure at first. His hand shook when he picked up a blue crayon. He hadn't done something this simple since Alina died. The memory of coloring with her in this same room nearly brought tears to his eyes. But then Leo really giggled when Elias accidentally snapped a crayon in half. "You're stronger than it?" the boy said with a grin. Elias laughed. A real laugh. Rusty, unfamiliar, but real. Liana looked up at him, stunned. Daddy laughed. Amara watched from the side, her heart swelling at the fragile miracle unfolding. For the next 2 hours, the mansion felt like sunlight. Elias colored messy dinosaurs. Leo made up silly stories. Liana covered her father's sleeves in sticker stars. And for once, Elias didn't care about deadlines or meetings or perfection. He cared about them. Later that afternoon, Mara guided them to the garden, where the twins built a leaf castle. Elias knelt on the grass, ruining his expensive trousers, and helped them stack branches. When the castle collapsed, the twins screamed with delight and tackled him in a playful hug. He froze at first. Then he wrapped his arms around them tightly, pulling them close. He didn't realize he was crying until Liana asked, "Daddy, why are your eyes raining?" Elias kissed their heads, voice shaking. "Because I missed you," he whispered. And I didn't even realize how much. Amara stood behind them, wiping her own eyes. She had brought peace into this home, but she hadn't expected to witness a father rediscover his children in that moment. Elias understood something deep and life-changing. He wasn't the twins' hero, but he could become one, and he would because someone finally reminded him what truly mattered. The days that followed were unlike anything the mansion had ever seen. Elias, Crane once a ghost in his own home, began showing up everywhere. At breakfast, in the garden, on the playroom floor building wooden towers with his twins, and every time, the children drew closer to him, hesitant at first, then eager, then overflowing with joy. But they weren't the only ones changing. Elias was changing too. He laughed more. He listened. He let his phone ring unanswered. He learned the twins' favorite songs, their bedtime rituals, their fears, their dreams. Amara had done what no one else could. She opened a door he didn't even know was locked, and the twins loved her deeply. So deeply that Elias began to fear something he never expected. The thought of losing her, one Friday evening, after the twins had fallen asleep, curled up on either side of Amara on the couch. Elias approached her. He wasn't the dominating CEO. Everyone trembled around. Just a father with uncertainty in his eyes. "Amara," he said softly, "may we talk?" She nodded, slipping out from under the sleeping kids. They stepped onto the balcony, the city lights glowing below. "I've been watching you," Elias began, "and I need to say this clearly. I owe you more than a simple thank you." "You don't owe me anything, sir," she replied gently. "Your children just needed you. That's the thing," he whispered. "You made me see that." He looked out over the city, gathering himself, the twins. "They've grown attached to you, and I can see why. You're patient, kind, strong. They trust you in a way they haven't trusted anyone since Alina. Mara lowered her gaze. They're incredible kids. That's why I'm terrified, Elias admitted. She blinked. Terrified. That you'll leave. Amara stiffened. She had seen this coming, and yet the weight of it still pressed on her chest. Sir, she said slowly, every nanny you hired before me quit. Not because of the twins, but because they were working in a house where love had disappeared. Your children weren't misbehaving. They were hurting. Leah swallowed. And now, she continued, the love is coming back. You brought it back, shook his head. No, Amara, you did. There was a long silence between them. The night breeze carried the faint laughter of the children, echoing from earlier hours. Then Elias said the words she'd never expected. I want you to stay, not just as their caregiver, but as a part of this family. If you'll allow it. Amara's breath caught. This wasn't a proposal. Not romance. Not obligation. It was an invitation. A place in their lives. A role written not by duty, by the bond she had formed with two little souls who needed her. Before I answer, Amara said softly, I need to know something. What is it? Are you choosing this because your kids love me? Or because you're afraid of going back to who you were? Elias looked stunned. Then very slowly, he smiled. A real, humble, grateful smile. Because you changed all of us, he said. Including me. Her eyes softened. In that case, she whispered, I'll stay. When they returned to the living room, Leo stirred awake. AMA. He mumbled sleepily. She brushed his hair gently. I'm here. Liana lifted her head next. You're not leaving, right? Amara exchanged a look with Elias. No, sweetheart, she said, pulling the children close. I'm not going anywhere. Both twins wrapped their arms around her. Hugging her with all the trust and love they had rebuilt piece by piece, Elias watched, his heart full. For the first time since losing his wife, his home felt complete, and for the first time since being hired, Amara realized she hadn't just achieved the impossible. She had become part of a family, one that would never be the same without her.